And then it weren't until I started outsourcing that I realized, oh, wait, actually, I can hire people in the right places that I can then spend my time on the things that I know I should be doing or want to be doing.
Welcome to the Tech Savvy Recruiter, the podcast for recruitment and staffing agency owners keen to explore the tech innovations reshaping our industry. I'm Andrew Roger from RecMate.
And I'm Belinda Kerr from Recruitment Garage, and together we're your hosts, bringing you a stellar lineup of tech experts ready to help you understand and, more importantly, benefit from the increasing array of tech available to you today. Thanks for joining us today on the Tech Savvy Recruiter. Andrew and I are delighted to welcome Ryan Halson to the mic today. Ryan is a veteran in the recruitment space, and after many years working in the agency space, he co-founded his own agency called Discovered People. In that time, Ryan really leveraged outsourced services, and after seeing how much they really impacted his business and his success, he moved abroad to the Philippines and launched his own global outsourced service specifically for recruitment companies called Managed. So welcome, Ryan, and anything else to add there?
Thank you. No, I think you've covered that pretty well. You said it better than I would.
Oh, good to know. So I'd like to kick off with, I guess, quite a broad question, but mindful of the rise and importance of tech/AI in recruitment businesses, what makes now an ideal time for agency owners to be thinking about outsourcing the recruitment function or other parts that you believe they should be outsourcing as well?
Yeah, so I think it's the perfect time, and there's a few reasons behind that. If you look at the way that people are purchasing or buying from recruitment agencies, it's changed a lot over the last 2 to 3 years. I think previously, of course, recruitment's always been about relationships, but you could generate a lot more business from being very transactional, speccing CVs and just being in the right place at the right time. Whereas you're seeing that the buying patterns have changed dramatically, where people are buying more now on people with brands, active in communities, events, podcasts like this one. And all of that takes a lot of time. So what we're seeing is that recruitment owners, especially small businesses under 10 heads, are just being burnt out because they're having to do it all. So, having to do so much more on the sales side and then so much more on the candidate delivery side, and they just get stuck on a hamster wheel. So I think as soon as recruitment owners, founders can step away from being involved in absolutely everything within their business, then it makes life a lot easier and they can scale quicker and more profitable. From candidate delivery, but then also AI and automation piece, outsourcing those two pieces will dramatically improve the business operations functions and revenue. And I think, people, especially on AI and automation, recruitment agencies, there's a lot of noise out there, but there's not many that are actually doing it. So you can still become a first mover in the space. But yeah, I think the way that the buy-in has changed over the last 24 months it's a perfect time to look to outsource it.
It's interesting, isn't it? And I think a lot of owners, particularly let's think about the smaller guys, they start up, they've been great billers, they start up their own agency, and this is, pre-AI as well, and they forget just how much of an operational burden there is on a business as well. They kind of think, I think they get set up and think, right, okay, I'll just get my website, get all this done, and then I'll just be able to focus on recruiting. But we all know that over time that operations piece becomes more complex. And of course, now with tech and AI, it's even becoming more complex, and the decisions, there's more decisions to make around what to do. So yeah, I really like what you said there.
I was just going to add to that, I speak to hundreds of recruiters, and many of them are sort of, first time founders and running, either solo or one or two people in the business. And they all say the same thing, that their billings actually drop when they go and start their own business because there is all of the operational stuff that they have to look after. And then those ones that do scale a little bit, that don't get their house in order to start with and get the foundations, it's almost twice as much hard work because they've set bad habits, and it's really hard to get everything in line. So I think the way that, I would advise people to look at it is sort of start as you mean to go on. And, I also think sometimes recruitment owners are scared to almost invest in the right places. They'd rather work twice as many hours to try and increase their profits as much as possible. But it's just not sustainable over the long run. My recruitment agency, I was 4 years in and I was still calling candidates. So it was kind of like, and by the end of the 4 years, I'm like, I don't want to be doing this day in, day out for the next 5-10 years, because you just burn out really quickly. So I think, yeah, it's always start as you mean to go on.
And I think it's a good point you make too, Ryan. There's this real falsehood that saving, just doing all these extra things will save them money and help them grow faster. In fact, the research shows the opposite. If you take things that are outside your skill set and below your pay grade and you outsource them, we know the profits come faster. It just feels like a waste of money at the time, but it's absolutely not. Buy your time back, go out, see more clients, speak to more candidates, get more money in the door, and you're ahead of the game, right?
Yeah, and I think it's the smart ones that see that. And if you look at any successful recruitment business that's actually scaled, the owners are not calling candidates day in day out, right? They're spending times in the right places. So I think it's just being able to demonstrate that value to small business owners that maybe have been burnt in the past or signed up to long, lengthy subscriptions and that kind of stuff, and then also get a little bit of analysis, paralysis by analysis as well. I see a lot of them just almost scared to pull the trigger, scared to make the move. They know what they should be doing, but they kind of just hold off. So yeah, an interesting one.
I think historically we've been sort of ingrained in our industry to do more. So I know my first role, I was with a large multinational, and if you weren't in by 7:30 and you left before 6, you're a part-timer, right? And that whole adage is, I think, continued.
Well, that's another thing. I was having the conversation the other day where in recruitment, you're told to control everything, right? Every step of the process. That's how you're trained. So when then you go to launch your own business, you take that same approach where I need to be in control of absolutely everything. I need to cross all of the candidates. And I was even speaking to a client that was looking at outsourcing their delivery function. And they were really uncomfortable with the fact that they thought that their clients would want, it just needs to be them doing the process and them speaking to the candidates and them. And it's like, well, you're just not going to be able to scale because you've only got so many hours, and you do have to let go and delegate. And that's the only way to grow.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're not putting that structure in, you become a glorified employee for your business, right?
Well, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
You're doing all the running around. You're wearing 17 different caps on any one given day. And you're doing most of those pretty average, by the way, aren't you?
And that's it. And again, it's the whole mindset. And I went through this where it was like, I can do it better than anyone else. So I need to be in control, like being a control freak across it all. And then it weren't until I started outsourcing that I realized, oh, wait, actually, I can hire people in the right places that I can then spend my time on the things that I know I should be doing or want to be doing, right? Which is then, it's more an enjoyable role for me. The business is getting more out of me and the business is growing.
It's such a great point you make. Like, I know in the Scale project that I run, one of the heavy modules for us is like getting stuff off people's plate and, outsourcing and delegating what you don't need to be doing. But it is where I get the most pushback. It's like, I just, I don't feel like someone can do it as well as me. But once people can see and you can sort of get over that hump and they can see what's possible for them to open up and do with that freed up time, it's like, why didn't I do that before? But I think it's sometimes they have to taste it first and then go, oh yeah, I'm never going back.
Yeah. And a lot of the time it doesn't work first time round, right? Because, maybe we haven't presented, or I'd say recruiters traditionally, their process, it makes sense to them. But then actually when you try and emulate that process to other people, it's not very structured, it's not formulated, and it's not very professional, right? So they'll hire someone to do a job and say, I'll just do it like this. And then expect that other person to get it. And when they don't get it right the first time, it's like, it doesn't work, I'll just do it myself, and almost chuck the towel in.
See, I was right. It doesn't work.
That's it. Yeah. Prove my own theory right. So, but I think it's really exciting. And even if you don't get it 100% the same, if you get it 70, 80, 85% as good as what you could do it, that's a hell yes from me. I mean, if I can free up that time more profitably for me to do higher task items that somebody else can't do, perhaps, then that's a hell yes.
I always say to my clients before they sign up, if they're not sure about outsourcing or not quite sure what to outsource, I always say just spend the next week, write down every task that you feel that you shouldn't be doing or you don't like doing. Just go and write down every single task as you're doing it throughout your daily week, and just come back to me with a full list of
time audit's really powerful to do. Highlights where you're wasting a lot of time or maybe spending things unprofitably, and also highlight stuff that you shouldn't be doing at all. Full stop.
Yeah. And there's so many things. I even just like when I was running my recruitment business, it was sort of like I'd be doing things, and as I'd be doing it, I'd be going, why am I doing this? Like, or maybe I'd be rewriting an email that I've sent a million times. Like, why am I still typing this out manually? So it's an interesting one. It's a great task to do.
Yeah, I mean, love Musk or hate Musk. Not sure which camp you guys sit in, but from a business perspective, he's got some good ideas around defining what we shouldn't be doing first and foremost, and just scrap that and then work on the process for the stuff that you need to perform, and get somebody in the right seat who's best practiced to do that thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of which, Ryan, you've probably seen hundreds of agencies and can probably nail maybe the top 5 to 10 things that they should be thinking about outsourcing. I reckon the audience would love to hear from your experience. What should they be thinking about passing on to somebody else as opposed to keeping it, as BK said, on their plate?
Outsourcing the delivery function is something that we've helped close to 50 recruitment agencies over the past 12 months do successfully. And you'd be amazed at how many people that I speak to that are concerned that outsourced consultants doing telephone voice-based work won't work in their industry. And we work with every industry from blue collar hiring construction workers in the mines in WA to hiring truck drivers in the UK, aged care, finance, IT, sales professionals, the whole remit. And we've not once faced an encounter where the market hasn't responded well to someone overseas calling them about a job. So I think that's one of the big misconceptions. So outsourcing your candidate delivery work, because that is what takes so much time when you're scrolling through page after page on your database or on LinkedIn to vet to see if the candidate matches the criteria for the role, and then reaching out to them and having that initial screen. It's just a whole chunk of time which you can outsource successfully and enable you to focus on the client work that we mentioned, being in the community, meeting clients, get out, meeting people face to face and thinking strategically about how you're going to go and get in front of these customers whilst you've got your engine outsourced where they're constantly speaking to candidates all day, every day. And it will just help you scale more profitable. So we had at one point and discovered we had 12 consultants in Sydney and, average wage of, 100,000 Australian dollars per year. And in the Philippines, you can hire one for, a third of that cost. So it's roughly around about, 30 to 40,000 for a really talented professional that's got experience in your domain, in your geography, and that can do phone-based work with, 5, 10 plus years experience in the recruitment space. So you're not getting a drop off in quality. But as you can see, the numbers there, let's just call it, say, $60,000 per year on one head, just on salary costs, let alone all the other stuff that come with local hires, office space, all that kind of jazz. So, if you've got 10 consultants, that's $600,000 a year that you're more profitable without your colleague having dropped off. And so outsourcing your delivery function is one that I would definitely recommend to recruitment businesses that are heavy on candidate work. I would say marketing is a big one as well. And I think a lot of recruitment businesses do marketing wrong. They're focused on building their company page and posting generic content that's not really helpful or engaging to their customers. It'd be, hey, look at us, we're celebrating our 1 year, or, we took the team out for drinks on Friday. It's not great. So I would also look at recruitment marketers to help you be more consistent in your personal brand and doing community-based activities and playbooks, adding value, giving a lot of value to your audience, driving that through your personal brand. And the biggest thing there is consistency. But when you've got someone outsourced who is essentially building an operating system for you that enables you to be really consistent, that's when you see a lot of return. And then also I would look at you could look at finance, as soon as you're big enough, look at outsourcing your finance. I know there's some really good players in Australia, like, A Positive, for instance. They're someone that we brought in-house straight away before we even had contractors running, just to make sure that we're all set up and ready to go. They're great for invoice financing and really good for managing your contractors. So that's something that I would outsource as a smaller business, and then maybe look to bring in-house once you're at a certain size where it makes sense. But then also AI automations, the tech aspect of your operations as well. So making sure that you're set up across back office, middle office, and front office with AI automation systems, processes. They're the key things that I would look to outsource as a small recruitment business, which you could do. You could probably hire 4 people for the cost of one person internally, and have all 4 areas, covered off.
It's amazing how you can leverage that, and those teammates are teammates. And I think you probably would have seen this. As long as you're treating them as teammates, you get as much as you would somebody sat next to you, right? So that management perspective is really important.
And that's where I suppose just to plug my business here, but that's where my business comes in, right? We call it managed because I'm here in the Philippines using my recruitment background to really bridge the gap between the client and the outsourced consultant. And, we do things like weekly alignment calls where we make sure that both parties are aligned, because the client needs to be educated on the culture here, what works, what doesn't work, and then the outsourced consultant also needs to be educated on that particular business and how that works. I think definitely seeing them as part of the team and not just that's a VA that we're just going to send all of our crap work to. Is about taking them on a journey, making them feel part of the business. Even we do little things like weekly lunch and learns. We do employee of the month. So we really building the culture for these individuals for our clients as well, which helps on retention. And there's a lot of businesses in the outsourcing space that are not very ethical and don't treat their employees very well. So I think, if you can just look at your outsourced consultants as part of your team and not just some third party, that's where you get loyalty, more buy-in, better performing individuals.
Ryan, I wanted to ask you on the delivery side with the consultants calling, do you find that there's a level, like when it gets to sort of senior exec recruitment, does that change, or have you got people reaching out at that level as well?
People reaching out at that level as well. We've got a couple of consultants that have worked for some of the biggest executive search firms globally, and they will do a lot of the outreach, initial outreach. There's different levels that you can go. You can do a lot of you can do research, which is just the reaching out to identifying, reaching out, engaging, and then booking in calls with a senior partner or consultant. And then you've got people that are headhunting and cold calling candidates and pitching roles to them. I always say extract as much value as you can. We had a consultant just last December headhunted a director in a technical position from San Francisco and relocated them back to Australia. And that was a cold outreach where they'd identified that they'd studied at Sydney Uni, but they were based overseas, and just called him and said, "Hey, do you fancy a move back home?" And managed to place it. And that was all of his own back. So, they're very, very capable at all levels.
Great. And what are you seeing are the biggest mistakes that founders are making when it comes to outsourcing? What do they get wrong?
Lots. So I think the biggest two are expectations and time. I'll add a third one, which would be cultural insensitivity. So time, meaning, I think we touched on it earlier, where, they'll try it once, and if it doesn't work straight away, they just want to throw the towel in. And like anything, if you're hiring someone locally, if you're hiring someone offshore, it's the same. You need to give it time to actually get them to understand your ways of working and put the time into showing them how. And there's a few management tricks that you do here that's culturally different, I'll touch on. But investing the time to actually making it work is not going to happen overnight. So you do have to give it time, whereas a lot of agency founders are very impatient and want things to happen. They expect us to say, do this once and then they'll get it the first time, where actually, it involves a little bit more than that, especially in environments where not very process driven or structured. Then I would say expectations. So I had one client say to me, I can call 20 candidates in an hour, so this person should be able to. That person had 20 years in recruitment and was a director of a recruitment business, and she hired an outsourced consultant with, limited years of experience. And you can't compare apples with pears. The expectations on what can actually be achieved, they need to be realistic and they need to be managed. And there's certain things that, in this culture are really good, and there's some things quite as well. So it's just an education piece on sharing that with our customers. The cultural stuff is, if you manage people here in the Philippines like you would in Australia or UK or Western markets, it will not work. And I learned the hard way on that. You can't be as direct, you can't be as upfront and aggressive as you would be in Australia or UK. There's some things that just don't sit right with them culturally, like lead generation. We found is really difficult here. Asking those candidates where they've been interviewing is a little bit tricky for them culturally to position things like that. Certain things around the sales aspect of the delivery function don't work quite as well, generally speaking. And then just in terms of just general management and drivers, understanding that what drives them is completely different to what would drive a consultant in the Western markets as well. So just getting an understanding of their communication and understanding that is another thing where agency owners tend to go wrong.
And I hear that a lot, just to pick up on what you said about, letting people make a few mistakes and giving them some space in the beginning. I hear that a lot. And you sort of say, well, but if you were hiring an internal consultant, wouldn't you be training them and getting them up to speed and giving them an opportunity to fall over and get back up again? And they're like, oh, yeah. For some reason, there just seems to be this increased expectation when it's outsourced that they can just get up and get running straight away, which I don't know where it's come from, but I see that a lot as well.
It's amazing. They'll pay someone 3 times as much and give them 3 times as long and less expectations. And it's again, it's just a journey we work with our customers on. And, we try and do that at the start to make sure that is outsourcing actually right for you? Do you value it? Are you willing to invest in it long term? And I think the individuals that don't truly value it are the ones that are sort of just, see it as have those high expectations and unrealistic goals. And the ones that actually truly see the value in it and are committed to it are able to put the time in to invest to make sure that it does work long term.
Yeah, it's amazing. the latitude that we give some of the people that may be not top performers, let's put it politely that way, as opposed to somebody who could be given, a little bit of guidance, nurturing, and they could easily become one of their top performers in a different location. Sometimes a bit surprising, but yeah, human nature. But it's good to know a little tip for the listeners here. Taking a different tack, you must come across a lot of tech in your travels and looking and speaking with different agencies. With the explosion of tech, AI maybe as well thrown into the mix, how do you believe agency owners should be looking at their tech stack for success in 2025?
So obviously working with, close to 50 recruitment agencies now, I have seen, and we really embed ourselves with our customers. So we get to understand their tech, from, all of the systems that they use, because we help train the individuals on those as well. So every CRM, every, you name it, I've looked at it, and, there's some are moving ahead a lot quicker than others. So I think from a tech perspective in 2025, I think it all starts with having the right foundation. So if you're thinking about starting your recruitment business, make sure that you go and explore all of the different CRMs that work best for you, because they are all very similar in some cases, but some of the newer ones coming onto the market are AI first, which just means they're enabled to move a lot quicker. And some of the old CRMs are, lagging behind a little bit on that. But then there's a count of, some have got really good API integrations, some have got really good stuff for contract or agency temp work. So I think just analysing the whole suite of products on the CRM side, and start as you mean to go on. So build your process out before you're a year, 2 years down the line. It's very easy to start your business and just start picking up the phone, doing everything on an Excel spreadsheet, make some deals, and then go, now what do I do? No, you want to build it from the start, and it will just save you so much time as you go on, and you're only going to get busier. So actually, the start is the best time to do it. Whether that's bringing someone in like yourself, Andrew, who can, go and map out the business and present what is the best tech stack and how they should get set up. That's probably the best way to go about it. But then using AI and automation across your full business. Automate absolutely everything that you can. I've got a cool little tool called Fixer, which sits in my inbox. It will tell me the emails that I need to respond to. It will write drafts for me and give me 2 options, and it works to about 80%. So there's only a small little piece that I'll change, but it will categorize all my emails. It will remind me that I haven't responded to certain emails. It will even create follow-ups on client potentials to say, hey, just following up on this email, that kind of stuff. Drafts all the responses, which, just a small little hack like that, saving me, plenty of time, but mental space as well. So, it's the mental space of not worrying about, did I reply to that? Did I do this? Or what do I say to this? So using AI across your whole business, note takers, when you're doing client briefs. I had another client the other day query the price that I had quoted, and I had the note taker in on the meeting, so I could go and search the transcript and then send the transcript over to the client and say, no, look, this is what we discussed in terms of the rate. So, if you're having any client conversations, candidate conversations, and you've got your note taker in, it's kind of, it's foolproof, and go back and search on that. You can even
ask. It's so much more efficient, Ryan, when you're doing a BD call or an interview. By the time you get to that record in the database, that note's already been saved in a lot of cases, and pushed into the right fields in some cases as well.
And you haven't got to worry about, typing down. You've actually engaged in the conversation. You can think about what they're saying and how to respond, rather than, I need to capture that note down. And nothing gets lost in translation, because it's super clear in terms of what's been discussed. And then, just scaling your outbound. You've only got so many hours in a day. So using AI and automation tools like Clay, there's a whole suite of products that we use that basically enable our clients to automate their whole entire prospecting, from research, enrichment, and then outbound multi-sequence campaigns as well, and which then just enables those consultants to spend more time on the phone following up on those qualified leads. So yeah, I would look at AI and automation across every aspect of the business in 2025.
Hopefully listeners are, I guess, across that line of, well, I don't want to put automation, I don't want to AI everything in my business because I want to keep the human touch. I think we've passed that line in terms of, well, I probably have to do that maybe to be able to keep the human touch at scale. So all those items you've just rattled off there gives me, or gives your consultant, time back in the day to do more human stuff, I reckon.
Well, that's it. As we mentioned, so the buying process has changed. People are buying on, the amount of customers that I've had to come to me just from my LinkedIn content, inquiring about what do I do. If you're not producing LinkedIn content within your and adding value to your ideal customer, then you're falling behind, because that's where people are buying and that's where people are winning. Communities, podcasts, getting in front of people without selling your services, just building relationships. That's where people are winning. And all of that takes a lot of time. If you can automate the other pieces that enables you just to spend more time in those places, it's a no-brainer.
It's interesting because we had our Q&A this morning for the Scale project, and one of the guys was going, I'm doing all this marketing, I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing all my social selling, etc. And then he got this email from this guy, didn't sort of say throw that out, but he's like, here's my plan. It's like basically make your list, hit phone, make your calls. Where do you sit between the calls, the phone, that direct traditional recruitment process, if you like, versus this fully social selling, marketing, inbound, etc.? Should we still be picking up the phone?
100%. You've got to be doing it all. And actually, what I believe is it's going to become even more phone based. Cold calling is 100% alive and well. And what I would say to my customers thinking about implementing Clay and all the automations, is this just helps you get data. It helps you predict early hiring triggers, and it helps you segment your total addressable market in clever ways, right? But ultimately, you need to then follow up with that data, and you need to be trying to get in front of that data. So either with unique offerings, something that's different to the market, because they're going to be getting hounded by all the other recruitment agencies saying, hey, I find candidates for you, when actually it's, you need to go deeper than that. So a unique offering, and then getting out and meeting people and getting on the phone to really cut through that noise, because email and outbound is just going to get saturated.
Apparently email for the last 2-3 years has doubled each year, and it's going to only get worse. So you're not saying print off a list and just go at it willy-nilly. You're saying get your data in line first and then use that to call those people who are obviously going to be further down the likelihood to buy from you.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that we're doing for our customers on Clay are really, really interesting. So, at a real baseline. So right now, it's really easy to automate anyone hiring within your niche for a specific job title on Seek or LinkedIn or any of the major job boards. We can now fully automate that. So we run an API scrape every 24 hours that will search all the new job titles within your domain. Then we'll go and vet to see if they're a business that match your ICP. We'll get rid of the recruitment agencies. Then we'll go and find the hiring manager for that particular position. Then we will vet that, go and enrich their contact details, and then push them to a multi-channel outbound campaign. That can all be done 100% automated. So if you think every single recruitment business will be able to do this in 6 to 12 months, it's just so much noise out there. So what you want, and it's too late, right? At that point, when people are hiring, it's too late. So what you want to be able to do is find, let's say, first-time CEOs of a business that have got 10 sales professionals in their team, but no sales leader, right? That CEO would be pulling their hair out, going, I'm managing 10 salespeople, I need a leader. So then we can go and find all of those businesses in that space, 10 sales professionals, but no sales leader, and then go and reach out to the hiring or the CEO and just ask them a question. I notice you've got 10 sales professionals in the team. How are they performing? Are they hitting targets? Are you struggling with the management? Are you struggling with motivation? They're going to face those problems. And then it's just about reaching out in really smart, clever ways. And you can emulate that across everything. Another piece we can do is find, there's a government job board in Australia which identifies which consultancies have won which projects. Right. So if they've won a project, maybe they're going to need to be hiring. So therefore, you can go and automate all of that outreach. As soon as they've won a project, go reach out. Hey, notice you won this project. This is how we're supporting other consultancies with, rapid scale or, support bench, whatever it might be. So it's getting really smart on predictive hiring triggers and automating that piece and then following up. And there's just a couple of examples. But if you think with your mindset in your market, what stage do people typically need to hire someone in X job? Then we can go and find that, scrape it, automate it.
Fascinating stuff. So have you got any case studies, Ryan, that you're happy to share from any of the elements that you've spoken about? I think just to make it a little bit more tangible, perhaps, for the listeners.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we'll talk to one client that we've just recently brought on board, and we've automated their their outbound. Essentially, this person, this business, they operate in the tech recruitment space, and they've got a community. So every month they do a meetup, and it's a community for CTOs, and they hire software engineers, right? So obviously, right room with the right people, building relationships. So but then also adding value to the CTOs by helping them connect with other CTOs, right, and solving problems. So he's in a really smart space, and we've automated. He was spending way too much time on stuff that you wouldn't call revenue generating because it's community-based stuff. So there's a lot of value that you need to provide. And he was spending, probably 80% of his week, connecting with people and trying to see if they're interested in joining the group. He mentioned to us that he would spend all week to try and book 10 meetings. And we went live with the outbound campaign. And in the first week, we'd booked 6 meetings that was fully automated that he didn't have to look at in, big businesses. I won't name them just in case he doesn't want me to, but in big global businesses that we'd book 6 meetings just through doing automated outbound. I would say we had 2 types of copy that were exactly the same. One was a LinkedIn only outbound. One was email only outbound. Email only outbound generated 0 replies, and LinkedIn generated all of the replies. So I would say to any recruitment businesses that's not doing business development on LinkedIn and just doing candidate work, they need to think about doing business development on LinkedIn rather than just email and phone. So that's one. I'd say another one that's on the delivery consultant side, we've got a resourcer that works for a Melbourne-based recruitment business in the project services space, and she has been there close to 1 year now. And she's responsible for 80% of the business's placements in that year. She joined in May last year, and she's responsible for 80% of their placements. She's averaging, just this year alone, she's been averaging 2 placements a month. So since the start of January, she's been averaging two placements a month, and she generated both contract and perm as well. And we had another delivery consultant who generated in December alone $80,000 in placement fees, which provided a return on investment for over 2 years of that individual just in 1 month's fee alone. So yeah, some really strong results across the board.
Great.
Definitely shows that it's there for the taking if you know how to leverage time and also a bit of technology along the way as well. In thinking about that, Ryan, given your breadth of tech discovery with some customers, what would you say, if I had to say, name one piece of tech that you couldn't live without or you think agencies shouldn't be living without? What would that one piece of tech be for 2025?
One would be Clay. However, to get Clay to work, you need a lot of other tech that feeds into that. Apify, N8N, Common Room, Lemlist, Instantly, ChatGPT, Claygen. So all these suite of products actually feed into Clay and get Clay to be powerful. But if you're not using Clay, your competitors are, and they're able to scale up so much quicker. In a space of a week, for one client, we mapped out their total addressable market. So we were able to find all of the companies in their space that hired their job title. We were able to tell them how many contractors were in each specific business. So we've got a list of all the contract houses that hire that job title. So now we've got a whole list of contract houses to go after. We were able to tell how many were perm, map out that whole market. Then we were able to go and find all of those individuals, and then we were able to scrape their job description in their current role of all their tech stack that they use, and then feed that back into the company. So now we've got a list of all the companies, their industry, sub-industry, how many employees they've got, but then their tech stack as well. So if you go and speak to a candidate that wants renewable energies and has got a specific niche skill set, you can search that really quickly, see that there's 10 companies. Now you've got a perfect match for those 10 companies to go and reach out to. We've done that in a week, and that, the market size was maybe 20,000, 20 or 30,000 within that space, which would take months, if not years, to map out manually.
And maybe, you couldn't probably get to the same depth either.
Is it feasible, because we were talking about this before we went online, it's quite a complicated proposition. Is it possible for smaller agencies to do this on their own?
Yes, if they're technical. I mean, I tried to do it myself, and lucky enough, I've gone into business with a GTM expert who's built systems for the likes of Air Wallets. And when he looked at my Clay table, he laughed at me. So you can do it yourself. It's just going to take you a long time to get there. And ultimately, what we're talking about is outsourcing to professionals, right? So not only will you get there a lot quicker, not only will you save money in the long run. I was running a row that was costing me $2 per row, and he got it down to 0.05 cents, the same row. right? Just because he knew how to use the system and use different things. So you'll end up spending a lot more money on data that's not as good, and you'll take you're taking yourself away from your day job, which is, going out speaking to clients. So yes, you can do it yourself.
I didn't want everybody running off and trying to do it by themselves.
Well, I think BK, people could try. It's like, thinking about if you want to do a addition to your house, or you want to renovate the back room, you could probably give it a crack. You'll be able to get some of it done, maybe, but what's that time
Get a bit of an understanding of it, maybe.
That's it. You can get some comprehension of how it might sort of fit together, but at what cost? To your point, Ryan, I'm not doing other things that I should perhaps be focused on.
The thing is, you don't know what you don't know either. So, because I'm in the recruitment space, I am helping these businesses unlock stuff that's relevant to their industry, which, if they're doing it themselves, they won't know that they can do it. And in working with a generic sort of GTM person, they're very much B2B SaaS style, and they don't get the recruitment life cycle. So there's much value to add into there as well. But there's so many stuff you can do, like, social listening. You can listen to people. So for me, I've got AI and recruitment. So anyone posting about AI and recruitment on LinkedIn, I'm automatically scraping. They're coming into my Clay table. I'm seeing if they're an ICP for me, and then I'm automatically reaching out to them based on that post and making them aware of what we do. I can scrape my competitors, likers, commenters, followers. So anyone liking my competitors in the space, I can scrape that and say, hey, notice that you're liking this person's engaging with their content on X. Just wanted to put our what we're doing in front of you.
You don't come unstuck with LinkedIn's automation policy?
Nope, we are very cautious on that. There's essentially some really clever tools that you can use that safeguard you, and then it's also the limits. So you don't push the boundaries on the limits. You need to have a sales navigator, not a recruiter account, sales nav account.
Good point. Okay. Ryan, fascinating conversation. Thank you. Love to hear more about Manage, the services you offer, who for, how do people get in touch?
Yep. Definitely. So high level, we help recruitment agencies do more with less, essentially. So we have 3 core offerings. A couple of I've touched on is essentially we help recruitment agencies outsource their delivery functions via outsourced consultants here in the Philippines, which I help drive best practice, accountability, and manage here in the Philippines. We also have our go-to-market offering, where we'll place a dedicated GTM operator into your business to help you get the most out of tools like Clay, AI, and automation for your outbound, all front office, getting in front of more candidates and clients, essentially. And then we also place recruitment marketers, which help you build content operating systems and frameworks to enable you to be more consistent with building your personal brand.
Globally, or where are your main markets?
Globally. So we've got clients UK, Dubai, Australia. We're not touching on the US at the moment, just because I like to sleep. But eventually we will be scaling to the US as well.
Amazing! Congratulations! I think it's great what you're offering, and I know it's only been, wouldn't even be 2 years. What is it you've been doing it for?
12 months. 12 months last week.
Congratulations! And I know we spoke when you first started it, and I was quite excited about how that was going to shape out. And it's obviously, come a long way since then. So congratulations! It sounds like amazing service that you offer. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yep. So best way is LinkedIn. So Ryan Halson on LinkedIn, or you can go to our website, which is trymanaged.com. There, and you fill out a contact form on there. Or my email is ryan@trymanaged.com.
Amazing. Cool. Any final words, gentlemen?
No, I think from me at least, what I picked up today is that you've got to really assess your process, make sure that's bedded down. So then you can add that extra 1 or 2, maybe 3 helpers who may not be in the same geography as you, and then put a strategy together of where you want to be. And I think you said it a couple of times, Ryan. If you're starting something up or it's early days for an organization, it's good time to address where you want to end up and play for that space from the outset as much as possible. You don't have to invest in all the tech straight up, but just make sure you've got a plan for it and you can stage that stuff along the way.
That's it. And I think, think globally as well. In today's marketplace, everyone used to be really defined by geography, but, how you can scale now through AI and automation and things like, teams and stuff like that. I think see a lot of recruitment businesses that maybe are quite limited in their beliefs and then their thought process around the market size. Actually, with AI and automation, it's about scaling that up, generating more opportunity for you and your business.
Yeah, super interesting conversation. Thank you so much, Ryan, and wish you all the best. And maybe at some point we can have you back again.
Yes, no worries. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Tech Savvy Recruiter. If you'd like to stay up to date with the latest recruitment trends and insights, make sure that you remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And also, if you'd like to speak to Andrew about turning your tech stack into your secret weapon, or myself around creating an agency that delivers you more money, more meaning, and more freedom, we'd absolutely love to chat. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your support. We look forward to seeing you next time.